There's a potential $150 billion industry that nobody is talking about. Of course, that's for good reason, but that doesn't mean investors should ignore the opportunity or wave it away because things are changing. And as they say, if you don't play, you can't win. Hi, I'm Matthew Carr, Chief Trend Strategist for the Oxford Club, and welcome to this week's episode of Market Trends. Now, investing has long been viewed as this kind of legalized gambling, even though it couldn't be further from the truth. Sure, you can take a grub stake and you can put it into Amazon, Apple, and Monster Beverage at the right time with due diligence. And if your time horizon is long enough, and if your risk tolerance is high enough, that can turn into a fortune, as we've seen today. Gambling itself has nothing to do with luck. It's bound by probability and statistics. Even the greatest gamblers in the world don't rely on luck. They're not just like innately lucky people. And it isn't luck that investors were recently given the opportunity to score big on gambling. In May 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court deemed the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, PASPA, was unconstitutional. This sent shockwaves across the country and created all these new frontiers and these new markets because for the past 2 decades, PASPA has largely made sports gambling in the United States illegal. But the time is over. It's ending. And now we're seeing one of the greatest gaming expansions in the U.S. in more than 20 years. In fact, currently 18 states offer legal single game live sports betting. Another 4 states and the District of Columbia have given the green light to betting, but they're not yet operational. And even better, a total of 16 states have either legislation or ballot measures on deck for this year's election for 2020. It's estimated by 2025, which I know in our pandemic perception of time seems like 6 decades from now, but it's only 5 short years away. It's estimated that 36 states will have legalized gambling. That number, of course, obviously isn't overly optimistic considering all those numbers that I just spit at you, but it does mean that the boom that we've seen is about to go supersonic. In the year following the PASPA's overturn, $7.9 billion was wagered legally in the United States. More importantly, $3 billion of that came from new markets. And in the first 8 months, most legal sports betting was done outside of Nevada, that stronghold. And since 2018, nearly $22 billion has been wagered legally here in the United States, bringing in more than $1 billion in tax revenue for states. So this betting boom isn't just going to be isolated to casinos like Boyd's Gaming, which has done great over the last couple of weeks, or El Dorado Resorts, or Penn National, or MGM Resorts, or even Wynn. There's also significant upside for gaming technology stocks like International Gaming Technologies, Scientific Games, and Flutter Entertainment, which trades here, OTC in the United States, if you remember my video from last week. Not to mention, you have like these giant media monoliths, like the Walt Disney Company, through its ESPN holdings that have their fingers in this multi-billion-dollar pie. But one of my favorite opportunities here is the fantasy sports and sports betting website DraftKings, which just recently went public. As the company's CEO, Jason Robbins, recently said that he believes in-game betting in the United States will help foster growth. In the UK, the company is already seeing 75% of its revenue coming from these in-game sports betting because in English Premier League soccer, you can bet on anything. Who hits the ball first, where it hits, who, all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about the downsides. Of course, casino stocks have suffered severely in 2020 because of the global pandemic. Penn National is the only one of those that are up, but they have had, very strong last couple of weeks. Meanwhile, International Gaming Technologies, Scientific Games, and Flutter Entertainment have all doubled from their March lows, but they're still down significantly year to date, meaning that there's still a lot of potential upside there. The biggest issue for sports betting is there are no sports. The only thing that we've had recently was The Match, the golf charity event, which drew 6 million viewers I believe that was a record for a live golfing event, but that does show that there is this pent up demand. So as we get later into the year, when we get into the NFL, which also is great for fantasy sports, for DraftKings, as potentially the NBA and MLB return, this is a time where investors should really start rotating out of those high flyers that have had a tailwind, that they've won the lottery because of the pandemic. I'm talking about Papa John's, Domino's, companies like that are not going to have those same opportunities going forward as the economies open up. This is a time where investors really want to start paying attention to those laggards. Casino and sports betting stocks, those have been laggards so far in 2020, and see that there are opportunities there because they have brighter days ahead. Thank you for watching this episode of Market Trends. I'm Matthew Carr, Chief Trend Strategist for the Oxford Club. For more information like this, be sure to go down to the description and sign up for my free e-letter. Until next time, here's to high returns.